This show is presented by the 323 Network. You can watch all your favorite 323 friends and shows on the 323 Network YouTube channel, follow us on all social media platforms at 323read, and support us as we continue to grow at patreon.com/323read. That's 323REID. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 323. I am your host, Reed Murphy.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Look at the show. I'm the captain now. Welcome to the fucking show.
Fuck Scott.
Good morning, college football fans, and welcome to the latest installment of College Shame Day presented by the 323 Network. I am your host, Scott Ellia, and week 4 is officially in the books. We're moving on to week 5, and I couldn't be more happy to welcome back the host of Ricks vs. Gricks, the host of the Sunday, sometimes Monday hangover, Reed, all wiggle, no jiggle, Murphy. How's it going, Reed?
I don't think I've ever been called all wiggle, no jiggle. I'll take all wiggle. No jiggle is a compliment nowadays. I'm great. I'm doing well. I'm doing okay. This cough sounds more concerning than it is. But new mic, new mute button, so hopefully you never even hear this cough.
Right. And I'm sure the folks at home listening on what should be a very glorious Saturday of week 5 in college football will appreciate a nice, crisp, clear voice of Reed. And you talk about being in a better spot, especially with the cough, with all consideration. College football looks like to be in some dire straits when it comes to the NIL right now. So that's going to be a huge topic we'll get into before we get into normal slate of College Shame Day. But before we get into that, a little bit of a recap from last week's game of the week. That's right, number 12 Utah traveling to Oklahoma State, who was ranked number 14, and they lost at home 22-19. Utah, this is their first Big 12 game after leaving the Pac-12. Some congratulations to Utah. I believe now they have moved to, where were they at in that ranking? I don't know. I don't care. But
Utah is number 10.
Oh, well, congratulations. And the reason why I don't remember where they're at is because I don't have them at number 10 on my rankings, which we'll get into here in a little bit too.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert. But going back to the game for Utah, Utah's Micah Bernard rushed for a career-high 182 yards, and Brant Kuth scored 2 touchdowns. Freshman Isaac Wilson, quarterback, threw for 207 yards and a touchdown, while also rushing for 41 yards, who was playing to replace injured starter Cam Rising, who... Reed, I want to get your thoughts really quick, because not only it was Cam Rising, the old man on the field, but also for Oklahoma State quarterback Alan Bowman. I believe they both are in like season 6 or 7, and this should be their last season. This is all stemming from like the COVID year and red shirts and injuries and things of that nature. Do you think this is the last that we're ever going to see a college football player playing for as long as we have these last season or two?
I mean, I guess barring another pandemic. Yeah, hopefully, like that COVID year is really extended.
Hey, it's an election year. Anything could happen right now.
That's really true. Like we could get a World War III year, who knows? But yeah, I can't really see, after these COVID years expire, these kids getting like any, really, especially if they're staying at one school, going for this long. But I guess you got to milk as much as you can, especially if your pro chances aren't really there. Get it up as high as you can, or get that free education to go along with the scholarship and build a name for yourself, maybe in coaching ranks.
That would be a really good thing to ask some of these players. How many degrees have you earned at this point in the last 6 years?
How many useless classes have you taken to keep up?
Oh, Jesus. I don't even want to think about that. I wouldn't be proud of that. But Utah coach Kyle Whittingham, he did come out saying that he's proud with the team, but admitted that they let Oklahoma State back into the game a little bit too much. Utah, they did dominate possession, running 81 plays compared to Oklahoma State's 59. I believe the time of possession, I believe they were well over 42 minutes. So how can you compete? Like, how can you even, the game was a lot closer at the end, 22-19, kind of in a 1,000-foot view. But like when you have a team that's dominating for 42 minutes, you can't get your defense off the field. The defense is gassed. You're burning through backups and third stringers and things of that nature. I don't know if it's due to we've talked about it before, the parity in college football and sports, and just the way that these teams are so much more fast paced. And, if you don't get ahead of it, they're going to keep running over you. I don't think I've ever heard of a team actually coming out ahead, being so behind the 8 ball as far as time of possession goes.
Yeah, no, it's like, at least not at that level, right? Like you'll see it with like some other schools, like some of those lower rung schools. We saw, there was 2, I don't even know what conference, what level they were at, where 2 schools got to the point where the score was so fucking lopsided, everything was so wildly ahead that they agreed to go ahead and lower the clock for the fourth quarter just to get through.
I believe that was the South Alabama game.
Yes, South Alabama.
Yeah, I believe that's a South Alabama game, which, spoiler alert, I'm calling an upset with this week for South Alabama. I believe they're going to be the little engine that could this week with who they're playing against, but we'll get into here in a little bit. Utah's defense absolutely dominated Oklahoma State. I mean, they held Ollie Gordon II, Oklahoma State's running back, who was last year's Doak Walker Award winner, to just 42 rushing yards. I don't feel that's going to hurt his draft stock going forward. It's still a very long season. I feel like he's going to be able to right the ship there in Oklahoma State. And speaking of Oklahoma State, Alan Bowman, their quarterback, was benched after the first half. But yeah, he did return in the fourth quarter, leading to 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion to trim that lead down. Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy noted his defense was overworked, obviously, while offense struggled. It's kind of similar what's going on in Tallahassee right now. It's a lot of the same things I've been seeing going on in Florida State. The defense can't get off the field, and when the offense does go out there, they lay a goose egg, and then you're already putting out these just depleted defensive players. So I'm more surprised they were able to stage that fourth quarter almost comeback. But up next for Utah, they have Arizona, and then Oklahoma State. They're taking a road trip. They're going to be playing Kansas State this week. So good luck to both of them. And again, Reed, Wheel of Degenerate, we suck again. We suck again, and we hit it hard. Missed on Ohio State's 39.5 against Marshall. Missed on Northern Illinois' 13.5 against Buffalo. We missed the over on 56.5 points against Georgia Tech at Louisville. We missed on USC 4.5 against Michigan, but we hit. We did hit one. The game of the week. We had it on here on the betting slip for the Wheel of Degenerate. We took the 1.5 points for Utah against Oklahoma State. So I guess participation awards. I'll take the ribbon.
Gold star, A for effort.
I'll take the gold star.
Yeah, I love a gold star. I made a school career off the gold star.
Well, I'll tell you one person who's not going to make any kind of school career with gold stars, and that's UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka. He has left the team, citing unfulfilled verbal NIL promises of $100,000 that was allegedly made by offensive coordinator Brendan Marion. Of course, UNLV has denied the claim, stating that Sluka's demands violated NCAA pay-for-play rules and Nevada state laws, which I would like to get into you maybe offline here in the near future, because that's one thing that I can't wrap my head around is how they're getting around specific state laws with this. UNLV did insist that the only formal NIL payment to Sluka was the $3,000 for a summer engagement, with no additional formal offers made. Of course, Sluka's agent and father shocker, argue that verbal promises were made during recruitment. That's just going back to a bunch of he said, she said. This isn't going to be the first instance that we're going to be seeing this, right? Like, we're going to start seeing this now that this has finally happened. It's going to start ramping up more, right?
Oh, for sure. Like, it's like, and we've talked about this offline too, about how NIL, for all the good intent and purpose that it had when it was first, instated, it's the Wild West. There's zero regulation with it, and you're going to be seeing cases with this with kids a lot of times. And when the story first came out, I'm like, yeah, go Sluka. All right, go this kid, go the family, because get your money, get what your worth is. If they're going to treat you like a pro and they're going to make money off of your back and off of your likeness, boom, let's go ahead and get as much. But the problem is, we, the public, all of this will become public. The school will attack in whatever way they need to. We will never truly know most of what these deals are that these kids in the schools are making. And I mean, I saw this theory, and I'm kind of signed on to it, of where a school, potentially even an upcoming opponent of UNLV, had already started recruiting Sluka and getting him ready for that transfer next season, and telling him, hey, just go ahead and redshirt this season and then come over our way. They struck a good NIL deal with him, and that would be scummy. That would be wild. That would be shameful. But it's unregulated Wild West there with the NIL. So do your thing. We're going to see this a lot, and it's going to happen with a name a lot bigger than Sluka too.
Oh, absolutely. And I to reiterate what me and you talked about before tonight's recording, I did see that meme, and the more I think about it, the more I would love it, stating, can we just go back to the days where we're just paying players under the table? And, and of course, now this is just, NCAA's, President Charlie Baker is now urging Congress to act amid this NIL dysfunction. It's going to be interesting. Like you said, if you're potentially recruiting players to just redshirt the rest of the season to get them over to you for the following season. It's a big tampering thing. You see this across all sports. I mean, hell, who just got in trouble in the NFL for tampering?
Oh, wasn't it Cousins?
What?
Kirk Cousins and the Falcons?
Yep. I mean, you've heard that with like Tom Brady when he was trying to go to like Miami back a couple of years ago. I mean, you hear about it all the time. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of litigation or some kind of rule change, or they can't wait until the end of the season. They need to start attacking this now before it gets too out of control. I mean, yeah, Sluka decided to redshirt the season and transfer after the dispute. I mean, but UNLV, it's a 3-0 UNLV team vying for a playoff spot in the first ever, 12-team college football playoff. It was reported that Circa Sports VP Mike Baum had contacted UNLV officials asking to make up the $100,000 promise, but I guess it was also reported that UNLV decided to deny that request. My thing, if I'm UNLV and I am 3-0 to start the season, I got a disgruntled quarterback. Yeah, Haj Malik Williams and Cameron Friel, the backup quarterbacks, are going to be taking over for the rest of the season from here on out. But if Sluka is that big of a deal to the success of a UNLV football team, who has been a long forgotten thought in college football, wouldn't you think that if someone's coming up and trying to hand you a check for $100K to keep the guy there, wouldn't you take it?
I mean, in this day and age, you would assume, right, that they're going to take that, and you don't want to lose them to somebody that's going to be a constant thorn in you, and especially because it's UNLV. Like, take the best that you could possibly get, right? Like, I'm looking at their upcoming schedule, and they're playing Fresno State, then they have Syracuse, Utah State, Oregon State, Boise State, Hawaii, San Diego State, SJSU, and Nevada. And I'm really just looking at it to see where it is that Sluka's going, because it's got to be one of those schools. One of those schools had to poach him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, moving forward, it definitely sheds the light on the growing tension in college sports surrounding NIL agreements and their impact on player retention. I mean, we're already seeing how wild the transfer portal's gotten. This is just adding another layer. And another, I guess not so much a marquee player, but he's definitely a bigger name in college football. USC's defensive tackle, Bear Alexander. He's upset over his playing time, and now he's taking a red shirt for the rest of the season. So now you're seeing, it's a double-edged sword. You're seeing a reasoning behind money. You're seeing a reasoning behind playing time. I'm sure this isn't the first instance and it will never be the last, but I mean, when you're having national stories like this breaking, it's giving is fuel to the fire for other players to be like, you know what? You're right. I do have a red shirt available. I'm leaving. I'm cutting off the rest of the season. I'll keep training. I'll start talking to people I want to transfer to, see where all these teams are playing for the rest of the year, and then make a decision, maybe in the spring. So this is a wild story. I don't know if you've seen anything about this.
I actually haven't. That's one I've needed to be educated on.
Yeah, so there's a gentleman by the name of Tony Jones, whom, Alexander refers to as his father, stated that Alexander will be sitting out the rest of the season to preserve a year of eligibility. Alexander plans to remain with the USC team, continue practicing and focusing on achieving his goal of becoming a full-time starter and leader on defense, which if that was your main goal, then I don't understand why you're taking the red shirt. I understand you want to keep the eligibility, but if I'm Lincoln Riley, who is definitely surprised about this whole situation. Thankfully, he is fairly confident in the defensive line moving forward. But if I'm Lincoln Riley and I see a guy who's, for lack of better words, quitting on the team just to keep a year of eligibility, why should I roll the dice and give you a shot next year? It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I'd be highly disappointed, not only if I'm Lincoln Riley, but you as a USC fan, right? Where, what was the big crux of that team last year? It was defense. You get a big opportunity with a big name, a huge potential player in Bear Alexander, and now this happens, and it's just, there's no way of stopping it, right? There's no way of stopping it without it becoming ugly by the school and by the player on their side, and it is a shame. It's a shame to see these things happen. I do like that the players are allowed to now express their power and fight for some type of freedom, as opposed to, back in the day where shit could happen and every single time it's with the school. The, approval will go with the school, fight will go with the school, player will get shit on, they will lose whatever trophy, they'll lose whatever scholarships. Now players can actually fight for themselves and have an independence, but it's so far out of control that you want to give the benefit of the doubt to the players, but when their families get involved, when random other agents could get involved, you don't know exactly what the full motives are. You could always have scammers, you could always have schemers. So something has to be done to regulate this, and not only, I say protect the schools, they have every legal opportunity at their hands, especially with alumni, but also to protect these kids. These dudes are 18, 19 years old a lot of the time, and could be easily manipulated by somebody who's been in the business long enough or family. So I hope that some type of regulation can come and happen soon. Something needs to be around for this. I was just checking Matthew Sluka's stats, by the way, just to see, I was like, oh, why was he have a nice chuckle? Why was he such a high recruit on this? Why? What happened with this? He must have been phenomenal. He had a 40. Through this season, he has a 43% completion rating.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's what makes it even more funny. It's just he by no means was killing the stat line, but it's if you really feel that he's the golden goose to the success of in UNLV, you would pay him. But if they're not going to pay him and they're even turning down free money, then obviously they don't think that highly of him. But no, you're right. I mean, I think this just continues to reflect a common trend, especially as of late in the last couple of years with the transfer portal era that we're now in, where players are seeking better opportunities if their current role isn't really aligning with what they want to do, because this isn't even the first time that Alexander's even transferred. I mean, he's a third-year player, transferred from Georgia, of all teams, he played about 20 or so snaps in that loss to Michigan. But his playing time was just limited due to the competition at that position group. He's 6'3", 315. He's definitely going to gain some strong interest from other schools. But the USC, it just stands for one thing: the University of Spoiled Children, and they're just going to kick and scream until they get what they want.
Couldn't have said it better than myself. University of Spoiled Children.
Oh, speaking about University of Spoiled Children and kicking and screaming to get what they want, Reggie Bush is back in the headlines with a new lawsuit. That's right, folks. Former USC running back and 2005 Heisman Trophy winner Reggie Bush has filed a lawsuit against not only USC, but also the Pac-12 and the NCAA, seeking compensation for his name, image, and likeness during his time at USC. Bush's legal team claims that the organizations made significant profits from Bush's popularity through TV contracts, merch, media rights, without actually properly compensating them, which, I mean, it makes a lot of sense back in 2005. I mean, you're just getting money in McDonald's bags, I guess out there, In-N-Out bags. But, I mean, you got to think about how jaded Reggie Bush was. You know, he had his Heisman Trophy, taken away from him. He finally got that back, and now he's shaking that tree for all it's worth. I say go for it. I mean, he was, like I said, he was getting shit on, damn near for the past 2 decades at this point, and he's finally been able to right the ship.
Right.
I wanted to get your thoughts on if there's actually any kind of validity behind Reggie Bush's lawsuit, or do you think it's just a money grab at this point?
I don't know if there's any validity behind it, but I'm with you. Fuck it, go for it. Make somebody's life hell. Like they took your legacy away. They took they took his reputation away for years. Like, this dude was like gold standard of college running back. Like, had the Heisman. He was exactly what you wanted, and he got fucked. To put it any other way, he got fucked for a long time. So whether there's validity to it or not, if you gotta fight, keep fighting. Make somebody's life hell. It's not gonna do shit to him. He's got a good cushy job with Fox Sports. He got his Heisman back. He's got love. He's got legacy still. Go do your thing, Reggie. Do your thing.
No, I couldn't be happier for him. Like you said, it goes back to, even after Bush had left USC for the NFL, his attorneys are arguing that, those three entities continued to financially benefit from his reputation without actually even acknowledging his contributions, all while taking everything away from him as far as his hardware goes, which is wild. His attorney came out emphasizing that the lawsuit is not only about seeking justice for Reggie, but also setting a precedent for fair treatment and compensation for all college athletes. So looks like he's just trying to be that martyr, which I hope it ends up being. Of course, not only USC, but also the Pac-12 have declined to comment altogether. USC stated that they haven't even received a copy of the lawsuit, so that's why they couldn't comment. If we got reports that there's a lawsuit out there, you got it. But for folks who are living under a rock or have no idea why me and Reed are rooting for this guy, during his time at USC, Reggie was one of the most prolific college players. I mean, he's definitely one of my favorite, not only all-time running backs for college football, but one of my all-time favorite players in general. His junior year rushed for over 1,700 yards, 18 touchdowns. This is what led him to get in that Heisman Trophy there in 2005. And again, forfeited it in 2010 after the NCAA violations related to impermissible benefits. What was it? Tattoos? Or it was I think it was autographs or some shit.
I think his was autographs. I'm pretty sure it was autographs.
Which is crazy. Which is absolutely insane that I get my trophy that I worked my ass off to get simply because of impermissible benefits like that. But it wasn't even just that, but USC also vacated its 2004 national title and 14 victories that season because of it as well. Of course, with the introduction of NIL rights in 2021, that's when Bush really began pushing for his Heisman to be returned. I remember as soon as this all happened with NIL, I think he was the first one to take it to X, formerly known as Twitter, trying to get that trophy back for his involvement for pay-to-play arrangements. But yeah, I think, and I believe not only was his Heisman Trophy reinstated, but I believe that USC actually even restored his now re-retired number 5 jersey. So
Yep.
you have the institution of USC, you have the individual Reggie Bush. They're trying to bridge that gap, and I feel like they're going to come. There's going to be a solution at the end of this road. I just would love to know what that number is that he's looking for.
I'm curious. It'll come out at some point too. It will as this deepens. Whenever USC gets the copy.
Oh boy, but Reed. Speaking about numbers, there's only one number that we care about here. And to quote LeBron James, it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3, it's not 4, it's 8. The shameful 8. Let's get this done. That's right, folks. The Shameful 8 is back for the second week now. The first week, I didn't get to enjoy it. I didn't get to enjoy the rolling of the red carpet out here on College Shame Day of the Shameful 8 because Reed, I guess, had better things to do than talk to me. But we got him here tonight, folks. Shameful 8, Scott's top 8 in college football, the AP's top 8 in order from 1 to 8. Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Miami, and Oregon. Speaking of Miami, peek behind the curtain. We're recording this at 9 o'clock at night. They are currently playing at home against Virginia Tech, and they are losing by 10 points to Virginia Tech going in to the end of the first half. Reed, what's going on with your boy Cam?
I don't know, because Cam has been like the face of the Heisman. Like, he's been the guy for like 2 weeks now, where he's like the leading contender on this. To Virginia Tech, that's a very surprising upset so far in the making. We'll see what it's like by Saturday morning.
Listen, I feel like I'm giving my best Trump impression. Listen, I will wake up a very happy camper to seeing Virginia Tech beating Miami while I'm listening back to this latest College Shame Day episode. Before we get into the Shameful 8 Read, I do want to give you and the folks at home a couple of my OLIs before we get into the top 8. And even though they're number 3 at the AP, Ohio State, I'm leaving them out. I'm leaving out of the top 8. You know, the dominant performances at home this season, but they don't have any ranked wins yet. But yeah, they've been consistently winning large margins, but they haven't really played anybody. Also leaving out of the AP's top 8, the Oregon Ducks. Yes, they had that road win versus Oregon State. They had a bye week last week in week 4. They got a strong road win, but they, just like Ohio State, they've lacked, really tough competition, which is kind of keeping them out of the top 8 for me. A couple others rattling them off. Kansas State, that road loss last week really hurts their rankings against number 20 Arizona. Oklahoma State as well. I've had them dropped out that top 8. Missouri, they're kind of on that fringe. They had a scare with Boston College. They did get that road win, a win against Vanderbilt this week, 30-27. They're just Oklahoma. They lost to Tennessee. Nebraska, they lost to Illinois. Like, it's just a lot of these big blue chip programs. I just can't give a spot in the Shameful 8. Reader, of all those teams that I rattled off, is there one that surprised you the most?
I can't say one surprised me the most. I am honestly, I don't want to say surprised with you and Ohio State, but I know what goes on there. But I'm always cautious of Ohio State, right? Like, I've talked about that since the premiere of this season, of where there's caution to them. There's caution to them, but I also feel there's fraudery.
Well, you know what? That brings up a good point before I start with my number 8 of the Shameful 8. You asked me a very specific question fairly routinely on not only the Sunday Hangover, but also on Ricks versus Gricks. You asked me if the Raiders are for real, pretty much on a weekly basis. So I'm going to start asking you on this show. Reed, are the Ohio State Buckeyes, are they for real?
I'm going to give a timid yes for now, with the ability to change.
You know what? It's 2024. It's the year of growth. So, I'll give you a little bit of wiggle room. But moving on forward, folks, number 8, Illinois. I have Illinois ranked at number 8. Key wins on the road 31-24 against number 22 Nebraska this past week. They also beat number 19 Kansas. Impressive ranked wins that have me boosting them a little higher than most. Coming in at number 7, Ole Miss. Great home wins this week. Dominant against weaker opponents overall. Great performances, but I got them dropped a little bit lower because, just like we stated with some of these OLIs, they haven't really played massively strong opponents. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen once this SEC schedule starts opening up for them. Coming in at number 6, and potentially will be out of the Shameful Eight next week if they can't right the ship there in Miami, is the Miami Hurricanes. They had that earlier road win against Florida early in the season, but we all know what Florida are now. They're frauds. They did win last week, 50-15 on the road. Strong road performances, tough competition outside of Florida. And now it looks like Mario's doing Mario things. I mean, they're 4-0. It's their first ACC game this season, and they are behind the 8 ball going into halftime. Reed, can Mario get it under control?
No, this is classic Cristobal. Like this we were trying to figure out like a second ago what is happening. That's what's happening. I completely forgot about Mario Cristobal. Give that man his flowers. This is a Mario Cristobal game that we get every year.
And I can't love it even more. This is where it gets a little dicey, Reed, because this is my top 5 is nowhere near the same as a top 5 for the AP. Coming at number 5, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Yes, they did win on the road against Wisconsin, but it's Wisconsin. They're dominant home. They got some dominant home wins. They had a bye week this past week. So the bye week to me keeps them a little bit more steady. I'll keep them in the top 5 simply for now. Coming in at number 4, and this is what's going to rattle everyone's cage, Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs I have at number 4 in the Shameful Eight. Yes, they blew out number 14 Clemson. They had a tight road win against Kentucky. They're still undefeated. They didn't play this past week as well, so I'm going to keep them stable right there. But if you even look back at their wins, they got Alabama on the schedule this week. So one of these teams are probably going to be out of the top 8 next week. Coming in at number 3, it's also going to rattle some cages, the Texas Longhorns. Coming in at number 3.
Wow.
Yes, they got that road win against number 10 Michigan. Another dominant win, 51-3 this week. Consistent dominance at home, quality road win. But the 2 teams I have ahead of them, I'm more impressed with what they've been able to accomplish outside of Texas. So, folks, if it's not Georgia, it's not Alabama, it's not Texas, who are easily the top 3 in the AP, coming in at number 2, and Reed, this is for you, Utah. The Utah Utes I have at number 2. They marched into Stillwater. They beat number 14 Oklahoma State this week. They have the solid win against Baylor. 2 quality road wins move them up in my rankings. And that's what you want. You don't want them just being dominant at home. You want them to be able to march into somebody else's field and take that W and get out of there. Which moves us up into number 1. Number 1 in the Shameful Eight is the Tennessee Volunteers. Impressive 25-15 road win against number 15 Oklahoma. Dominant win over number 24 NC State early on this season. Impressive road wins. That's what's solidifying me with their number 1 selection here on the Shameful Eight. Reed, before we move forward and give the folks what they want with the game of the week, and of course the Wheel of Degenerate coming up at the end of the show, is there any teams that you feel I botched on? Would you have flip-flopped anybody? Like, would you have done anything different on your end?
Not so much, honestly. Like obviously we're going to see how it's like with Miami after tonight, but when it comes to all of the rest, when you got to the top 5, Texas is the only one that I think I would have Texas above Utah right now. Texas is still just a major threat to me, and What I'm loving is Texas being able to show their depth. I think that's one of the most important things that you can do at this time in the season, and being able to show that you can stay a threat even if something happens. Massive injury, anything could happen at the end of the year. Let's say Quinn Ewers goes down for the season. He's out for the season. You got Arch Manning who's ready to go, and he's showing that he can, it's not going to change anything else. This team is going to be a threat once, like a super threat once Quinn is back, but it's still a threat to win the whole thing right now with Arch running the show. But I was actually very, very pleasantly surprised to see Tennessee as your number one. They are also my number one ranked team right now. I'm loving everything Tennessee's doing, and it's Tennessee doing things that aren't normal Tennessee things, right? Like I usually have questions with their defense, like in past years, especially when they've been making those runs. When they made that run with Hendon Hooker, the defense was kind of the problem for me there. This year, like, they have playmakers on defense. They're keeping you close. They're keeping it a threat no matter what, and keeping you on your toes. But Nico at quarterback, Nico Yama, damn it, I tried it with confidence. I tried to get it with confidence.
I want to be your lover.
Nico, I want to be your lover is fucking phenomenal. He's awesome. He is a fun quarterback to watch, and he's fun for those volunteers. So I'm enjoying Tennessee. That's a great pick for number one.
Well, and especially the fact that Nico's a freshman, and we're going to be able to get another 2 seasons, maybe 3, out of him. That's going to be wild. But to reiterate, before we move any further, Texas, I mean, if you look at their schedule, they've completely beat the bricks off of everybody. They marched into Michigan. They beat them on the road 31-12. But I mean, you look at their other teams they played. They played Colorado State at home, UTSA at home, University of Louisiana Monroe at home. They have Mississippi State, which is arguably one of the worst teams in the SEC this season, at home this week. I mean, their schedule doesn't really open up until the Red River rivalry, which they have at home against Oklahoma, and they have Georgia at home the week after that. Their only road games they have from here on out, it's Vanderbilt, which Nick Saban came out stating that is the easiest place to win in the SEC. And then against Texas A&M on the road. And that's kind of like why I'm giving that knock. I don't want to take anything away from what Steve Sarkisian's been doing over there, what Quinn Ewers. I really love what I'm seeing out of Arch Manning and his development. But it's just, when you look at the body of work and the way that they got there, it's not the most, like, they have 4 road games this year. It's like, what else are you going to do? Of course, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be winning at home against lesser opponents like Colorado State, UTSA, UL Monroe. Whereas in Tennessee, I mean, they've had 1 road game this year, and that was last week against Oklahoma, and they beat them 25-15. But they had a ranked hopeful that I had for the ACC and NC State coming into Tennessee, and they completely beat the bricks off them. And they still have Alabama on the slate for this year. They got Georgia later on this year. So if you look at the complete body of work, say if both these teams went out and they're vying for the SEC championship, I'll tip the hat to Tennessee's resume over Texas's all day. So hey, speaking about resumes, Heisman Watch, and it hasn't really changed, folks. I'll just be honest; it's essentially the same.
But
one thing that made me very happy, it probably will change. Well, I don't know. He's still having a decent performance in Cam Ward, but one thing that did change, I was so happy to take off Travis Hunter off of my Heisman Watch. Get Colorado out of here. There's no room for Colorado on this show. Speaking of Colorado, Reed, did you see that they're in hot water right now? Because they have a game against, I believe, UCF, one of those Florida teams. But the media folks there released the graphic hyping up the game, and it shows them like in floodwaters. And for folks who don't know what's going on right now in the East Coast, especially in Florida, there's a hurricane going on through, so it comes off a little I don't know, distasteful.
Doesn't everything Colorado does since Coach Prime has come off a little distasteful?
there has to be some kind of like morality to it. Like, I understand like a lot of time and effort and money went into making that just that one specific graphic, but somebody has to chime up from the back room saying, hey, maybe we don't release this. Maybe we just do something different.
Never seems to be a thought that goes through before a
No.
shitty post.
But talk about not doing anything different. Heisman Watch, folks, that is right. My 5 top candidates right now going into week 5 of college football to potentially win that Heisman Trophy. Number 5, another guy who's been a repeat member of this top 5, Boise State's running back Ashton Jeanty. Last week at home against Portland State, 11 carries, 127 yards, no touchdowns, but that's fine because he already has 9 on the year. So he's just trying to slow it down a little bit. So good for you, Ashton. Coming in at number 4, Oregon State's quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. Last week, yes, he had a bye week, but on the year, he's 79 of 94, 900 yards and 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions through the point of the season. Can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do this week. Coming at number 3, Alabama's quarterback, Jalen Milroe. Another one of those guys who have a bye week this week, or had a bye week last week, but they, on the season, 35-52, kind of a quiet year. You know, not really slinging the ball as much as you would hope. Only 590 yards, but I mean, he's got the 8 touchdowns through the air. So, I mean, if he's able to string some kind of magic down there in Alabama to potentially win an SEC championship and maybe a college football championship, it's going to help prop him up a little bit more. Coming at number 2, Miami quarterback Cam Ward. Last week on the road against USF, 24-34, 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick, which this stat line is absolutely insane. Reed, 89 of 123, 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Well, 3 picks after this night so far.
That's insane. That's an insane stat line.
And if you think that's insane, who I have at number 1 is even more insane, and that's Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart, who I really believe this early on the season, I think he's starting to slowly pull away. Last week at home against Georgia Southern, 22 of 31, 380 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Moves him onto the season, 95 for 119, 1,500 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yeah, Ole Miss might not be making a push for the SEC championship game, but he is doing what he needs to do to separate himself, to get that hardware, and to further prop up his draft stock going into next season. Because if you folks have listened to any show with Ricks versus Gricks, or the hangover shows that we do, there are plenty of teams right now who could use a quarterback to draft even to this state in the season as we speak.
And who doesn't want to award a quarterback named Jackson Dart? Right.
It's just the perfect. It was like written in the stars. Like he was supposed to be doing this as a profession. Now, Reed, is there any players that you feel that I might have missed on this Heisman Watch? Is there anybody that's impressed you so far throughout this season?
No, I liked what I like the list that you assembled there. I could maybe flip Jalen Milroe and Dylan Gabriel right now at this point, but I agree with you that I think right now it's like a 2-man race between Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. I still have Cam Ward just slightly above Dart for right now, but we'll see how the season goes if some crystal ball games can affect Cam Ward going forward.
Oh boy. Hey, we're going to get into the slate of games because there's going to be some doozies in here for some of these Heisman hopefuls, but the only game that matters this week, Reed, and yes, I understand that number 2 Georgia is traveling to number 4 Alabama this week, and it's going to be all hoopla, and all eyes are going to be on that game, but our eyes are only for one game. Uh-oh.
Hoopla.
But there's only one game here on the Shame Day that we feel is the game of the week, and it's going to be that number 19 Illinois traveling to Beaver Stadium to play number 9 Penn State. One interesting thing that's going to be happening this week. Penn State is honoring its 1994 undefeated team during Saturday's game against number 19 Illinois. Illinois is off to their best start since 2011 and thrives in the underdog role. Even if they're not a part of the college Shame Day Wheel of Degenerate betting slip this week, I probably will put some money on them this week because Penn State I never have faith in. the noise at Beaver Stadium, which affected helmet communications in Penn State's home opener, it may lead to the use of some sideline signals to manage the communication challenges. And just when we thought we finally got ahead, and we were finally moving into the 21st century, Reed, I guess they just can't do what they got to do to make sure the technology holds up to these loud environments.
You can't keep Connor Stallions down and the people that come from his school of sign stealing. They can't keep them down.
Speaking of sign stealing, have you seen Jay Norvell, the head coach for Colorado State? And I feel like every game he is so scared and so on edge about someone stealing his signs. He has these guys just walking around him at all times with just massive sheets of walls, so no one can see shit from him.
The Norvell Secret Service.
Oh, but for Illinois going into this game, Illinois quarterback Luke Altmaier has led the team to comeback wins over ranked teams, including a 10-point rally against Kansas and an overtime victory over Nebraska this year. Also, Altmaier has proved after losing his starting role last season, is working with offensive coordinator Barry Lunny Jr. to enhance his game. So that is a player. It might not sound familiar to you, but for Florida State fans, it sounds familiar to them because look another quarterback that could have been. And you see all the success that's happening in Illinois. So I'm happy for him. He's able to right the ship there in Illinois. For Penn State's offense is coming off a historic game, gaining 718 yards against Kent State. But it's Kent State. Can we stop? Can we just stop that? Wide receivers Trey Wall, Samari Evans, Liam Clifford, and Julian Fleming are emerging. I'm really excited to see what's happening in that wide receiver room there in Penn State. Evans is averaging 25 yards per catch, which is phenomenal. But Penn State, they might need to shuffle some personnel due to some injuries at linebacker and cornerback. So if Illinois can expose those secondary struggles in the second level of the defense, I expect an upset this week in Beaver Stadium, Reed.
I could see that, and what a time to do it, to ruin that anniversary. That's the best time, I think, for a team to come through and really, really just fuck things up. Got a good anniversary, you're gonna have a shit ton of alumni in. Yeah, let's ruin it.
Yeah. Well, Reed, I don't want to ruin your Saturday evening because lame of the week this week, it's Charlotte at Rice. All I'm going to say is thank God it's at 7 p.m. Go out and enjoy yourself.
Yuck.
Saturday night. Don't even bother yourself with that game.
I'll go eat rice in Charlotte. How about that?
Ooh. Well, there might be some good Asian fusion spots in Charlotte.
There has
Maybe
to
we
be,
can take
right?
a show on the road.
Yeah, let's find that. We're not going to go to a school. We'll go to an Asian restaurant somewhere in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I love it. I'm going to hold you to it. I'll make sure to open your checkbook so we can get the show on the road. And speaking about getting the show on the road, let's get to the cherry on top to this college shame day, and that is the Wheel of Degenerate. Reed, bring up the wheel. Bring it up. You know what? No, I'm bringing it up. Screw you. Get it up. There it is, folks.
Whoa.
In all its glory. And
Love
for those
it.
listening, there's only one place that you can see this, and that is at the 323 Network YouTube channel, where you can see our gorgeous faces. You can see Reed's brand new spiffy microphone. You can see his wiggle, no jiggle, and my very beat up and tattered, torn Florida State hat, which I might need to upgrade at some point whenever they decide to get a win.
I feel like it's representing the season.
Oh, it is, and I'm very scared for this week. So we'll see what's going to happen in Dallas when they play SMU. But that's right, folks. The Wheel of Degenerate betting slip, where Scott, we're going to be spinning this wheel 5 times, building a 5-pick parlay. We will not tell you what I feel is going to be the outcomes of these games. There's only going to be one place that you can find that, and that is at the official 323 College Shame Day Instagram page, where the betting slip will be posted before the afternoon slate games. So if you want to take a chance on me. I mean, my ex-wife took a chance on me. You all saw how that ended up happening. And it looks like it's a lot of the same shit over here. I keep losing, and I keep losing at deals, and I'm not making any deals anymore, Reed. I'm winning this one.
No, I keep losing at deals, and I don't want to make a deal anymore.
That's right, but I'm not leaving, King Curtis. I am staying here. Let's give it a spin, Reed. Let's give it a spin. Oh boy. First game up on the Wheel of Degenerate betting slip is Minnesota traveling to number 12 Michigan. And Reed, that is just the tip of the iceberg here for the Wheel of Degenerate ticket, because I was so rude and I didn't even let you know what games we're playing this week. And I apologize. Please forgive me. Aside from them, we have Kentucky traveling to number 6 Ole Miss, number 20 Oklahoma State versus 23 Kansas State, your number 22 BYU at Baylor. Fingers crossed for them. Wisconsin traveling to number 3 USC, the University of Spoiled Children. Number 15 Louisville is going into number 16 Notre Dame. Number 21 Oklahoma Sooners traveling to Auburn. Arkansas Woo Pig traveling to number 24 Texas A&M. Shittissippi State, I guess that we can just name them that now because they're playing like garbage. They're traveling to number 1 Texas. A game that I also feel is going to have an upset alert. Number 3 Ohio State traveling to Michigan State. Stanford at number 17 Clemson. 18 Iowa State at Houston. I guess ESPN's college game day game of the week. Number 2 Georgia at number 4 Alabama, but we all know that's not going to be exciting. The only exciting game is going to be the college shame day game of the week. Number 19 Illinois at number 9 Penn State. And they rounded out South Alabama at number 14 LSU. Reed, that is the game. It's going to be sneaky. It's going to be sneaky. We know the Brian Kelly fic going on right now in LSU. I think South Alabama has been playing lights out the last couple weeks, and I think they can walk in there and get that win.
I'd like to see it. I don't know. I feel like the LSU momentum is a little too high this week, post Jaden Daniels and the breakout party in the pros. LSU might just be feeling themselves a little bit. Maybe they're feeling themselves too much. Maybe the scales have to even out here, and South Alabama is going to even out those scales.
Man, I hope it does. I really do. And to round out the last 3, Washington State at number 25, Boise State, Arizona at number 10, Utah, and number 8, Oregon traveling to UCLA. The second game on the betting slip we have this week is going to be the Wisconsin Badgers traveling to Southern California to play against those spoiled children. And I think I backed myself into a wall there, Reed. I think the Fates heard all the shit talk and they said, you know what? We're going to have them lose you money.
Oh, yeah, because Georgia, Alabama's coming up at some point, too, because you talk shit of there.
You just spoke it into existence because now the third game on the betting slip is number 2 Georgia at number 4 Alabama. God damn it, Reed. What did I do to myself? This is not good.
It's just how the wheel goes.
Well, you know what? And if that's the case, if this spin doesn't land on LSU, and then I'm going to just call foul on everything.
Well,
nope.
Well, yeah, Oklahoma at Auburn.
We'll take it. That's a very interesting game. That could be a lot closer than what most people think.
We have to play hard to get. We don't want LSU.
Yeah, we don't want you, LSU.
Why do we need LSU? We don't need LSU on there.
Oh, the Fates, they wanted to reward you because the 5th and final game on the Wheel of Degenerate betting slip for this week, week 5, is the number 22 BYU at Baylor. Reed, who do you got in that game?
Mormon Cougars, the mighty Mormon Cougars, and we're ready to roll. I'm taking BYU.
You think that's Zach Wilson's chant too?
This probably has something to do with moms.
Oh, that is it for this week's installment of College Shame Day, folks. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Before I close out the show, Reed, thank you immensely, as always, for joining me. It is always such a fun time picking your brain as much as I possibly can about college football. Are there any of these games that weren't selected by the Fates that you have your eyeball on?
LSU. That LSU South Alabama game, actually, I do have my eyes on. And for one that was picked, I know that's, game day is going to go there with Georgia, Alabama. Could be interesting. But, man, the shame day game of the week, that's where this is going to be all about. Like, I'm just curious to see some drama. I'm curious to see some chaos come out of that. It's going to be a fun weekend. We're gearing into like a crazy ass time. Like, this is a calm before the storm because October is a wild schedule in college football, and I'm very excited to dive into it with you.
That's right. And just to let the folks know at home, the line on the Georgia Alabama game right now is 1. They're giving 1 point to Georgia.
It's a hard one.
I hit the I was about to say I hit the pause button. I know I hit it. But again, thank you folks for tuning in to the 323 Network podcast. We appreciate your support and passion for college football. Please stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook at 323 College Shame Day. Also at 323 Read. That's that guy right there. On YouTube, the 323 Network. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit that bell. That way you can always hear us and all our shenanigans throughout the week. Catch our latest episodes where our podcast can be found. Oh, and most important, wait, red alarm. Let's set up the alarm real quick. Don't miss out on our monthly giveaway, folks, for a chance to win a $25 Fanatics gift card to grab your own favorite game day gear. It's catching fire there over on the Instagram page. Read the likes are out of control. The new subscribers are out of control. So folks, if you want to get a shot at this fantastic free, absolutely 1000% free $25 Fanatics gift card, make sure to give us a follow at College Shame Day's Instagram for a chance to win. Also gaining extra entries on likes, comments, sharings of the post. Comment on there. Tell me how much of a piece of shit I am. I don't care. It still gets you in there. And you still get $25. That's awesome.
And you can use the money that you can use the gift card, throw it towards, because obviously you shit talkers are going to be coming from Colorado. You can do something to try and keep Dion around. You know, it's a fun time. And just jump in there and you might have a shot against all these bots that Zahir Ali is obviously using to try and win this gift card.
Yeah, Zoo's calling in some favors from overseas right now to get that gift card pried out of my cold dead hands. But folks, until next time, embrace the shame, and thank you again for listening to the 323 Network.
No, I keep losing at deals,